The music had stopped. The priest's hands trembled, still frozen mid-air holding the Bible. And there she was, Diana, the bride in glittering white, standing at the altar with her veil half-pinned, mascara slowly trailing down her cheek as her 7-year-old son screamed through the church doors. "Mummy! He's going to destroy you. Don't marry him." Everyone turned at once. The groom's face dropped like wet cement. The camera stopped flashing. And Diana's perfectly planned wedding turned into a scene of confusion, chaos, and cold fear. Little Liam stood at the back, panting, his tiny face soaked in tears and sweat, his shoes muddy from running across the lawn. His white shirt was wrinkled. His hands trembled as he pointed a finger, right at the groom, Frederick. "He said you're stupid and that once you marry him, he'll send me away and take your house and money." I heard him. Behind the flowers. Silence. The kind that cuts deep. Flashback, just 1 hour earlier. While Diana was getting her final touch-up in the dressing room, her curls pinned with white roses, her lips lined with soft pink, Liam had stepped out to chase butterflies near the garden. Everyone thought he was just playing around. But behind the tall hibiscus hedge near the back fountain, Liam paused when he heard his soon-to-be stepfather's voice. It wasn't warm like it usually was. It was sharp. Cold. And nothing like the man who bought him toys and patted his head. "Once we're married today, everything is mine, her mansion, her inheritance, and control over that business." She signed the prenup without reading it. "Foolish woman," Frederick said, laughing wickedly. Liam's heart started racing. "And the boy?" another voice asked, Frederick's friend, a tall man in dark sunglasses. "He's going straight to boarding school. Somewhere in South Africa, maybe. I don't care. I just need to be free of them. I can't even stand the sound of the kid's voice." Liam bit his lip so hard it bled. He crouched low, hiding in the flowers, tears stinging his eyes. The man who kissed his mom's forehead and called him champ was a liar. A monster. "I'll give it 3 months before I divorce her," Frederick added. "After I drain her dry." Liam didn't wait to hear more. He ran. Back to the church. The moment he arrived, he burst through the front doors like a storm. Everyone gasped as the little boy stood there, screaming the truth with every fiber in his body. "He doesn't love you, Mummy. He called you dumb. He said once he marries you, he'll send me away and take everything." Diana blinked, stunned. Her bouquet slipped from her fingers. Her legs wobbled in her heels. She looked at Frederick, who now wore a forced smile, the kind that tried too hard to act innocent. "Baby, please," Frederick began. "He's a child. He doesn't understand what he's saying." "Liam," Diana whispered, her voice cracking. "Why would you say such a thing?" "Because I heard it. I swear, Mummy." He said it. Behind the flowers. Then something even more shocking happened. A deep voice from the back echoed through the hall. "He's telling the truth." The crowd turned. It was the old gardener, Mr. Mutiso, in his green overalls and rubber boots. He stepped forward with his hat in hand. "I was watering the lilies behind the hedge. I heard the entire conversation between your fiancé and another man. Everything the boy said is true." A collective gasp shot through the guests. One woman dropped her fan. Someone fainted in the back pew. Even the priest looked stunned. Frederick's smile broke. His hands twitched. "This is ridiculous," he snapped. "You're taking the word of a child and a gardener over me?" Diana took a step back. Her chest heaved. All the memories, how fast he proposed, how he avoided signing any documents in her name, how he was obsessed with her late husband's estate, suddenly made sense. You used me?" she asked, voice trembling. Frederick didn't answer. But Liam, with his tiny hand still clinging to hers, looked up at her with eyes full of love. "Please don't marry him, Mummy. I just want you to be safe." Tears rolled down Diana's face. And in that moment, the woman who had been blinded by loneliness and sweet lies, chose her son. She slowly turned to the priest. "Stop the wedding. I can't do this." The wedding guests had scattered. Some whispered. Some left in shock. The musicians sat frozen, unsure whether to pack up or play something to break the awkward silence. But one thing was clear, the wedding was over. Diana stood still at the altar, her veil now tossed aside, her perfect curls falling loosely over her shoulders. Her bouquet lay abandoned on the marble floor, petals crushed beneath people's hurried footsteps. But Diana didn't move. She was frozen in betrayal. Liam stood beside her, still clutching her hand tightly. His little chest rose and fell rapidly. His brave face now looked drained, but he was relieved that his mother finally believed him. Frederick, still in his fancy suit, looked like a lion caught in a trap. His mask of charm had fallen. His usual calmness was replaced with frustration and panic. He turned to Diana and snapped. "Are you seriously ending this over a child's imagination? Over a gardener's gossip?" Diana turned slowly to face him. Her lips trembled, but her voice was strong. "Tell me, Frederick. Were you ever planning to love me, or was I just your business strategy?" He scoffed. "Oh please, Diana. Grow up. Love? You think I spent months charming you for romance? I had a plan, and it was working perfectly. Until that brat decided to spy." Gasps again. People who had lingered at the back began whispering. Phones were now out. The scene was turning into a live scandal. "So it's true," Diana's voice cracked. "You were using me." Frederick shrugged. "I mean, you're not the first lonely widow with money. I just knew how to play the role better than the rest." Liam's face twisted in confusion. "You lied to me. You said you wanted to be my dad," he whispered. Frederick rolled his eyes. "Kid, wake up. I hate children." Before Diana could react, Mr. Mutiso, the gardener, stepped forward again. He held out a small silver object in his hand, a voice recorder. "I record every conversation near that fountain," he said. "That area has been used by thieves before. I have the whole thing on tape." Another round of gasps. Frederick's eyes widened. "What? You're not allowed to record me. That's illegal." "Illegal?" Mr. Mutiso chuckled. "But planning to scam a grieving woman and ship off her childlike luggage is legal?" The priest, still standing nearby, cleared his throat. "Diana, I suggest you leave with your son. This isn't safe anymore." But just then, a tall, curvy woman in a deep blue dress walked slowly into the church. Her heels clicked against the floor. Her lipstick was blood red. Her eyes locked straight onto Frederick. Well, Freddie. I see the little game is finally over." Everyone turned. Diana squinted. "Who are you?" The woman smiled. "I'm Monica. His real wife." Screams. One guest dropped their purse. Another ran out shouting, "Jesus, take the wheel." Frederick turned ghost white. "What are you doing here?" "I came to collect my share. I helped you write that fake prenup. I helped you research Diana's dead husband's estate. I helped you pretend to be a saint," Monica said, smirking. "And now that your plan failed, I want compensation." Diana gasped so loud her knees buckled. She would have fallen if Mr. Mutiso didn't catch her. "You mean, you're married? This whole time?" Monica nodded. "For 5 years. We just scammed 2 other women before you." Liam looked up at his mother, tears falling again. "Mummy, please let's go." But Diana, with her heart shattered, stood up. Straight. Her pain was now fuel. She walked right up to Frederick and whispered, "You came to ruin my life, but you forgot one thing. I'm a mother first." Then she slapped him. Hard. Right across the face. The sound echoed through the church like thunder. People clapped. Some cheered. Monica whistled. "And I'm pressing charges," Diana added. "For fraud, emotional abuse, and identity theft. Let's see how charming you look in handcuffs." As the police arrived minutes later, thanks to a guest who had quietly called them, Frederick was arrested. Monica tried to slip out, but she was caught too. Diana walked out of the church hand in hand with Liam, no longer a bride, but a warrior. Cameras flashed as reporters tried to get a word, but she kept walking. She didn't need to speak. The whole world had just seen the truth. Diana didn't cry in the car. She didn't cry when the police drove Frederick away in cuffs. She didn't cry when Monica hissed, "You'll regret this," through the squad car window. No. Diana only cried when the front door of her house closed, and it was just her and Liam again. Safe. Home. She dropped to her knees and hugged him so tight he could barely breathe. "You saved me, baby," she whispered. "You saved me from a man who would have destroyed us." Liam wiped her tears with his tiny hand. "I didn't want a new daddy, Mummy. I just wanted you to be happy, but he wasn't good. I knew it." She kissed his forehead, heart aching with a mix of pride and heartbreak. He was only 7, but that day, Liam had become the man in her life. The next morning, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Diana sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the wall. Her wedding dress was still hanging on the door, untouched. Her phone kept buzzing, calls from reporters, bloggers, even old friends who had ignored her for years. She ignored them all. Then came a soft knock. "Mummy? Come in, sweetheart." Liam stepped in, holding a letter. Small, beige envelope that looked old. The handwriting on it was faint. "I found this under the stairs," he said. "It had your name on it." Diana blinked, confused. She took it carefully, opened it slowly, and began to read. "Dear Diana, if you're reading this, it means I never got the courage to say it out loud. But I owe you the truth, even if it's too late. Frederick isn't who you think he is. He came to me first." Diana froze. Her eyes widened. Her hands shook. The letter continued. "He approached me before he ever met you. He was charming, kind, and claimed to want to help me get over my grief. He said he had fallen in love with a widow before but had messed things up. He said he regretted it. We dated for a while. He even proposed to me. But then he disappeared, and months later, I found out he was dating you. My sister." Diana's mouth dropped. "No," she whispered. The letter was signed. Joy. Her sister. Diana collapsed onto the floor, hand over her mouth. Joy. Her younger sister who had died just a year before. Joy, who had always been secretive about her love life. Joy, who had cried at Diana's engagement dinner but never explained why. Diana had thought it was grief over their late father. She never imagined that Frederick had been dating Joy before her. Her stomach turned. She stood up, her breathing heavy. Memories began to flash like lightning. The way Frederick avoided questions about the past. How he always changed the subject when she spoke about Joy. The strange look he gave when Joy's name came up. The time he said, "I've made mistakes with love before." It had all been there. But now, a new horror crept into Diana's mind. "Liam," she whispered, "where exactly did you find this letter?" "Inside a shoebox. It was hidden under the wooden stair that creaks." Diana rushed to the staircase and lifted the loose plank. Inside the hole, beneath the old shoebox, were more letters. All from Joy. All addressed to her. Letters she never received. Some half-burnt. Others sealed. One even marked. "If he ever proposes to you, run." Tears rolled down Diana's face like rain. Not only had Frederick deceived her, he had dated and destroyed her sister too. He used her death to cover his trail. And now, Diana was left holding the pieces of not just a broken wedding, but a broken family secret that had been buried until a 7-year-old boy opened the wrong stair. That evening, Diana sat down and told Liam everything. She didn't hide the truth. He had earned the right to know it all. Your Aunt Joy, she knew Frederick. And she tried to warn me. But I didn't see it. Liam looked up, wide-eyed. Does that mean he hurt her too? Diana nodded slowly. I don't know how far he went, but she loved him. And he broke her heart. Liam took her hand and whispered something that made her heart stop. Mummy, what if Joy helped me hear him that day? What if she was protecting you from heaven? Diana stared at her son. And for the first time in 2 days, she smiled. Maybe Joy had protected them. Maybe her spirit had whispered through the hedges. Maybe Liam wasn't just brave. Maybe he was chosen to save his mother. The house felt heavier. Not because of the silence, but because of the truth that now lived in the walls. Diana sat on the floor near the staircase, surrounded by the old letters her sister Joy had written. Her wedding ring still sat untouched on the kitchen counter, useless now. Liam was asleep upstairs, curled under his superhero blanket, unaware that the ghost of his aunt had just torn open a secret no one could have imagined. Diana hadn't slept. Her eyes were swollen, her fingers stained with ink from reading every word Joy had once cried onto paper. If he ever proposes to you, run. The sentence haunted her. How could she have missed this? How did she not notice the sadness in Joy's eyes back then? She thought it was grief. But it was love gone wrong. And now Joy was gone, and the man who hurt her had almost destroyed Diana too. But just as the sun rose the next morning, barely pushing light into the house, Diana heard a knock. 3 soft taps. She froze. No one ever visited this early. She walked to the door cautiously, peeked through the curtains, and there stood a tall man, with dark shades and a brown envelope in his hand. He looked familiar, but older. And serious. She opened the door slowly. Yes, she asked. The man removed his glasses. Are you Diana Wendo? He asked. Yes. He paused, looked around nervously, then said. I was in love with your sister. My name is Brian. We were supposed to get married before Frederick ruined everything. Diana's lips parted. She clutched the door frame. You knew Joy? More than anyone, Brian whispered. And I've been holding on to something for over a year. I didn't know if I should come, until I saw your wedding video online. The moment your son stopped everything, I knew Joy was still trying to protect you. He handed her the brown envelope. Inside was a photograph of Frederick and Joy at a beach, kissing. Another photo, Joy with bruises, her face swollen. Another, a police report, filed but never followed up. And finally, a journal. Joy's handwriting. I'm scared. He threatened to kill me if I ever told my sister about us. He says he knows people who can make me disappear. I tried to break it off, but now he's watching me. If anything happens to me, please tell Diana the truth. Diana's knees went weak. She collapsed into the couch, tears slipping silently. Why didn't you come earlier? She asked softly. Brian sighed, guilt washing over his face. Joy begged me to stay away. She thought Frederick would target me too. She said as long as I kept this journal safe, she could protect you on her own. And then she died, Diana whispered. Brian nodded. The official report said it was a heart attack. But I've always wondered if maybe it wasn't. The room went cold. Diana held the journal like it was a fragile soul. Her heart beat like a war drum in her chest. She died 1 week after Frederick came into my life. That fact stung. Frederick had entered her life with flowers and fake promises. But behind the scenes, he may have ended Joy's. Suddenly, Liam came downstairs, rubbing his eyes. Mummy? Who's that? Diana looked at Brian, then at her son. This is someone who loved your Aunt Joy, and who wants to help us now. Liam stepped forward slowly and looked up at the man. Did you know Mummy was in danger too? Brian nodded. But you protected her, little man. You were brave. I wish I had been brave like you. Liam smiled shyly and went to sit beside his mum. Diana closed the envelope and whispered. Frederick didn't just scam me. He silenced my sister. And now, Brian said, it's time to silence him, forever. That afternoon, Diana walked into the police station holding a file thick with evidence. Photos. Letters. Recordings. The voice tape from Mr. Mutiso. The journal from Joy. The photos from Brian. The forged prenup. Everything. She walked in as the same woman who was almost fooled, but left as a woman ready for war. And as she stepped out of the station, hand in hand with her son, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. You think you've won, Diana? The voice hissed. You'll regret ruining me. You've only started a battle you can't finish. It was Frederick. Diana smiled, a cold fire in her eyes. No, Frederick. You ruined yourself. And I'm just getting started. The courtroom was packed. Cameras flashed. Journalists whispered. Everyone wanted to see the woman who canceled her wedding at the altar and exposed a wealthy, charming fraud in front of the whole world. But Diana didn't care about the crowd. She only cared about one thing, justice, for her, for Liam, and for Joy. She sat calmly at the front bench, dressed in all black. Her hair was tied back. No makeup. Just truth in her eyes and war in her spirit. Liam sat quietly beside her, holding a stuffed toy in his lap. On the other side of the courtroom, Frederick walked in, dressed in a navy blue suit, but his eyes no longer sparkled. His charm was gone. His lawyers surrounded him like shields, but even they looked tired. Behind him, Monica was handcuffed, glaring at Diana like a bitter ghost. The judge entered. The trial began. The prosecution brought up evidence after evidence. The voice recording from the gardener. Joy's journal, read aloud by Brian. The photos of Joy's bruises. The forged prenup, and how Frederick had done this to 2 women before Diana. Frederick tried to defend himself. His lawyers painted Diana as an emotional widow, easily manipulated. They said the boy misunderstood what he heard. They called Brian obsessed. But then, the court called their final witness. Everyone turned as a slender elderly woman slowly walked into the room with a walking stick. Diana stared in shock. Granny, she whispered. It was Joy and Diana's grandmother, Mama Sifa. She had lived in the village for years and hadn't stepped foot in the city since Joy's funeral. But today, she came. She looked at Frederick with eyes full of fire and began her testimony. 3 months before Joy died, she came to my house crying. She said she was scared of a man named Frederick. She begged me to pray for her. She said, if anything happens to me, tell Diana it wasn't an accident. The courtroom was silent. Frederick looked pale. I tried to warn Diana. Mama Sifa continued, her voice trembling. But Joy made me promise not to interfere. She said the man had eyes everywhere. The judge leaned forward. Are you saying Joy feared for her life because of the accused? Yes, Mama Sifa said. And she was right to be afraid. Diana couldn't hold back her tears. Everything suddenly made sense, Joy's last-minute trip to the village, her silence, the constant fear in her eyes. Joy had been running from Frederick all along, and now, even in death, she had finally spoken. When Frederick was asked to respond, he stood slowly and gave a twisted smile. Fine. I dated her sister first. So what? Joy was obsessed with me. When I left her, she tried to ruin me. She was weak. Gasps filled the room. I was smart. These women were just lonely. I gave them what they wanted, attention. That's not a crime. But the judge banged his gavel. Manipulation, fraud, physical abuse, and psychological harm, those are crimes. And you, Mr. Frederick Canby, are guilty on all counts." The courtroom erupted. Monica screamed. Frederick tried to break free, but the officers held him tight and dragged him away. Diana sat frozen, then slowly reached for Liam's hand and whispered, "We did it, baby. It's over." 3 months later, Diana reopened her bakery. It had been closed since her engagement to Frederick, but now it was full of fresh flowers, laughter, and new life. Liam had become a little local hero. Mothers brought their kids to meet the boy who saved his mummy's life. As for Brian, he didn't disappear. He showed up every weekend, sometimes helping Diana bake, sometimes telling Liam stories about joy. He never pushed. Never asked for more. He just showed up. And Diana? She was healing. Slowly. Quietly. One day, while cleaning, she found one last letter inside Joy's old recipe book. "To my sister, Diana. If I'm ever gone, don't mourn me too long. Just promise me you'll keep loving fiercely. You were always the brave one. And if Liam ever tells you something unbelievable, believe him. Love, Joy." Diana smiled through her tears, held the letter to her heart, and whispered to the ceiling, "I did, Joy. I believed him. And he saved us." This story teaches that never ignore the quiet warnings, especially from your child. Love can be blinding, but children often sense danger before adults do. Trust your instincts, protect your peace, and never be afraid to walk away from something, or someone, once the truth is revealed. True love protects, not manipulates. And sometimes, the smallest voice carries the loudest truth.